But I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Mark Henderson. I am the Director of Digital Initiatives for the Missouri School Boards Association, MSBA, as we call ourselves. And I'm thrilled to be here with you today to talk about artificial intelligence in education. This is the first in a series of 3 webinars on the topic. Today, we're going to talk about opportunities and challenges of AI in education. Next Tuesday, we will talk legal and policy considerations with my colleague and an attorney, Andy Heitman, who is on today. And then 2 weeks from today, April 30th, we will talk about safety considerations of AI with Bob Klossmeyer, one of our colleagues who is the director of K-12 safety. So we hope that you can join us for those as well. The Zoom information for those is the same as for today's. I will send it out again just to be sure everybody has it. And feel free to share that with any of your colleagues or anything like that who may not have heard about it. So we're going to start with a quick word from Melissa Randall, who is our executive director at MSBA. Melissa was going to be here, and then about an hour ago, something came up, and so she recorded her message to you all. So let's hear that now.
Thank you, Mark. There have been major advancements in artificial intelligence in the past 2 years. Every day in the news, we hear about new technologies, their impacts on our society, and questions about their legal and ethical use. The education world is not immune to these conversations. AI is already affecting how our students are learning, and its impact will only continue to grow. There are tremendous opportunities and challenges to using AI in education, and we must be having conversations on this topic. I know it can feel overwhelming to stay updated and to stay on track with what's going on with AI, but that's why MSBA is committed to helping you. We're going to help you navigate AI's role in education. Thank you for attending this webinar series. You've already taken steps to understand and make decisions regarding AI, and this is the next step. We know that that's essential to shape informed decisions and maximize the benefits of AI within education. And now I'll turn things back over to Mark.
All right. Thank you, Melissa, on recording. I don't say on tape anymore because there's no physical tape, but Melissa is AI obsessed, and she would not mind me saying that. She's really been on board with it. She's the reason why we are doing so much here at MSBA regarding AI. She can talk to you about it all day. She certainly would. All right. We're going to start out. I want to mention one more time, if you are a Missouri School Board member, there's a link in the chat for you to fill out a short form so that you get credit for being here. If you could do that, we'll put it in there again later on. We're going to start out with playing a little game. I'm going to try to make this as interactive and engaging as possible so that it's not just you sitting and watching me. So we're going to start with a little game called Robots versus Humans. Who made it? This is round 1 because we're going to play again later. So here are 6 images, A, B, C, D, E, F. 3 of these images that you see on your screen were created by humans, either by hand or on a computer. The other 3 images were created by artificial intelligence. So I'm going to open up a poll here in just a second. I'm going to ask you which 3 you think were made by humans. So study these images closely. It's not a trick. 3 are human, 3 are AI generated. Let me get the poll up here. So you should see a poll popping up on your screen now. So you can vote for 3 here. Which 3 images do you think were created by humans, not artificial intelligence? And no one's going to see your answers. It's anonymous, so don't worry about being embarrassed. We're just trying to see how easy it is to tell if we can spot the difference. Now, one way to easily tell if something is created by artificial intelligence is to look at the hands, because a lot of times they have too many fingers, but in these images, you can't really tell that. I guess on B, you can see some fingers, but it's a drawing. So, all right, people are voting, and I will reveal the answers here in just a minute. I want to let you all have an opportunity. It's pretty even so far, which is you're seeing how difficult this can be. Give it just another few seconds here to vote. Want to welcome all of you, either in Missouri or in other states joining us here today. We were a little worried about the weather. We're supposed to have severe weather, and so far it's windy, but it's not bad. So if I disappear on you, it's probably because the power went out or something, or the Wi-Fi went out. But so far, I think we're good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here, and if you can see the results, there's not a clear winner. D, a lot of people think D was created. 63% think that was human created, but all the other ones are in the 40s, low 50s. Um, so you can already tell it's not so easy to know which ones are created by people, which ones are created by a computer or artificial intelligence. So let's go through these. Number A, letter A. First of all, that was created by a human, and that was a famous human. If anybody has a guess to the name of the artist who painted this picture, if you want to put in the chat, I don't have a prize for you, but I'll give you a shout out if you can guess the artist, famous artist who created that beautiful trees and waterfall. Ah, Sean Woods got it. Bob Ross. Yes. And Jeff Pulls is right behind him. Bob Ross, you got it. Yes, that is a Bob Ross painting. You can tell because those trees are happy, right? They're not little, but they're happy. How about B? This is actually the cover of a children's book, a picture book that was AI generated, which is surprising, right? It looks like a very distinct style, but that's AI. How about C, this bull logo? AI or human? That was created by AI. When I put this together, I didn't intentionally choose a bull and a cow. It just worked out that way. Um, D was the one that the majority of you said was human, and it was. It's not a trick. There's a guy named Pablo Declan who has a website. He calls it the non-AI generated art model. And you can send him a message and say, draw a picture of this, and he'll draw it for you. He's kind of going the opposite way. So somebody said, draw a cow kicking a soccer ball. And that's what he did. All right, we're down to two left. One of them is human, one of them is AI. And I'm going to tell you something about E here. E is called Portrait of Edmund Del Bellamy, and it was sold last year at Christie's auction house for $432,000. And it is created by artificial intelligence. Someone paid that much money for something that was made by AI, which means that our little duck friend there was a human created graphic. If you look on the bottom of E, you'll see normally in the bottom right corner is where the artist would sign the painting or paint their name. And it's actually, I know you can't tell because it's small, but it's actually a math equation. And that's how AI said, I made this. But yeah, someone paid almost $500,000 for a full-size painting that was created by artificial intelligence. So it's not so easy to tell, is it? When things are real, when things are made by artificial intelligence. We're going to play this game again in a little bit. So you're good eyes. All right. So who are we? Well, we, me, and my colleagues are Missouri School Boards Association. We're right in the middle of the country. And there are a lot of people here based on the registration form that I had you fill out. We have people from over 25 different states joining us, the states in yellow. You can see the star in the middle is where we are. We're located right in the middle of Missouri. We also have people from 82 different school districts who have registered for this webinar. Now, some of them can't attend live in person, which is too bad because they can't interact with us, but they will watch the video later. We have board members, we have superintendents, we have teachers, we have tech staff, we have safety staff, all kinds of different people. And that's important because this is a topic that affects all of us in a lot of ways. So I asked you when you signed up for this webinar a couple questions. One of them was, what is your knowledge level of AI on a scale of 1 to 10? And this is what you all said. Number 5 was the most common, but you can see there were a few people that called themselves experts. There were a few people who said, I don't know anything about AI. I thought it was the word owl. I thought you were talking about owl. So we have a very diverse group, and I think this kind of sums up where we are in the education world right now. Some people know a lot, Some people don't know anything. Some people are in the middle where they know enough to get around. I'd put myself probably at a 7 or 8. Sometimes people will introduce me as the AI expert, and I'm like, no, I'm not the AI expert. I'm doing the best I can to keep up with it, but I am by no means an expert on this topic, although I do know more than maybe the average person does. Another question that I asked you was, in your opinion, how should schools handle the use of AI? And this was also kind of diverse answer, but the winner by a long shot, 63% of you said that schools should cautiously embrace the use of AI in schools. And that term cautious embrace, you will hear again next week when my colleague Andy Heitman speaks. That's kind of his term. He should trademark that term. That's kind of how we feel at MSBA. There's a lot of potential here. Obviously, you have to be careful, but there's a lot of great opportunity. 25% of you said, I don't know enough to make an opinion at this time. Hopefully, in 3 weeks, once you've attended these 3 webinars, you'll be able to make an opinion. And we're not telling you what your opinion should be, but we're just trying to inform you. All right, so we have an hour, and that's not a lot of time to dig into AI, right? So we're really going to focus in on 2 things. Number one, we're going to try to establish a baseline understanding of AI so that all of us have a rough understanding of what we're talking about. Now, those of you who said, I'm pretty knowledgeable at AI, don't worry, we're not going to bore you. This is going to be like a 5-10 minute quickie, and then we'll dig into the education part. So some of it you may have already heard, but we're all trying to get on that same level. The other thing we're going to do after that is we're going to explore the opportunities and challenges of using AI in schools. And as I said, I want this to be as interactive as possible. So on the bottom of your screen, you will see a chat button, and that's where you can type comments. I hope that you'll type comments, reactions, things like that in there. You can put emojis in there. And if you have questions, we're going to answer them at the end. So it'd be great if you could click on the Q&A, type your questions in there. That way it's easier for us to keep track of them, because if they're in the chat, they'll kind of get lost. All right, so we're going to use the chat right now. And as Andy pointed out to me a little bit ago, this is kind of like what ChatGPT does. Fill in the blank. So what I want everybody to do is open up the chat. I want you to type one word. Send it to everyone if you can. Change is blank. Now, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's totally up to you. What do you think? Change is blank. And Andy, can you tell us kind of what you're seeing in the chat? What people are saying?
Sure. There's a lot of agreement on various ways of looking at it. We've got a lot of scary, hard, challenging, but we have a great, exciting, necessary. Let's see what else. Good. There's a lot of inevitables. Oh, invigorating. There's
Ooh.
excellent word choice there. Uncomfortable, fun, continual is happening, necessary. So a lot of stuff about how it is definitely necessary and on the way and taking place right now, but is nevertheless kind of a combination of exciting and scary. Seems to be the zeitgeist there.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Thank you all for typing in the chat. So before we talk about AI, we're going to talk about change a little bit, because AI is a big change for all of us, especially in the last couple of years. And as you can see, people have different feelings about change. Some people think it's good. Some people think it's bad. Some people think it's scary. It's exciting. Well, why is that? Well, I've done a lot of research and presenting on change management. It's a topic I could talk about for hours. But I'm just going to talk about it for a couple of minutes here, because it certainly relates to change, or relates to AI. Sorry. We naturally resist change. In psychology, they will tell you we like comfort. We like what is known, what is expected. So when things change, we're not always comfortable with that. Even if it's something that we know is going to be good, we're still not really sure about it. We also take changes personally. We feel like our livelihood, our life is changing somehow. And a lot of times, maybe we don't have control over that change. And also, we grieve the loss of the old way of doing things. Even if maybe the old way wasn't perfect, We were familiar with it. We were comfortable with it. Now, if you remember from psychology class back in school, you probably learned about the grief cycle. Or if you're, I learned about it watching The Simpsons when I was a little kid. It's a great way to learn about it too. But these are the steps that you go through in the grief cycle. And they have done research that the process of understanding and accepting change is the same as the grief cycle. And as you can see, it gets worse before it gets better, right? First, you're denying it, then you're kind of angry about it, and then you're trying to bargain and get out of it somehow, and then you're just depressed over it. And finally, you're just like, okay, this is happening. I can deal with it. So it's really interesting to think about changes, especially in technology and how maybe this goes through. Now, I'm not saying everybody has the same cycle. Obviously, we saw the different terms that you all use to describe change, but they have people much smarter than me have looked at the process of how we deal with changes and compare them to the process of grief. It's really interesting stuff. So we're going to talk about AI, and we're going to look at how AI affects these different groups, schools as a whole, students, teachers, admin and staff, the Board of Education, and parents. And what I want you to do, and now that you know how the chat works, is throughout this presentation, throughout this webinar, I want you to brainstorm in the chat, what are the opportunities and challenges regarding AI for these groups? This is just brainstorming, which means no right or wrong answers. But what we're going to do is at the end, Andy's going to kind of summarize what you all said, and we'll talk about these things. So please, as we come across things, and maybe you already have some things in mind, which is great to share, or maybe you'll come up with some thoughts as well as we go through. Please add those to the chat. All right. So this is a picture of a dog drinking out of a fire hydrant. And this is a photo that some of you can probably relate to when it comes to AI. In fact, some days I can relate to this feeling because there's so much information coming at us, so much news, so much data, good stuff, bad stuff, and it's a lot to take in, right? So I feel that way. I'm sure a lot of you feel that way too. Now, not necessarily a bad thing, right? The dog's probably thirsty. He's getting water, but it's a lot. Sometimes you need to step away from the hydrant, take a little break from the water, and that's perfectly okay to do. But I want to acknowledge that it's an overwhelming topic. There's a lot to it. So let's start. Like I said, I'm going to give you some very basic information about what AI is. Some of you may already know this, but we want to be sure everybody is on the same page. What is artificial intelligence? Well, very, very simple terms. Artificial intelligence is a machine's ability to perform tasks that are normally done by humans, things we associate with humans, like learning from experiences, solving complex problems, making decisions. This picture here was created through Adobe Firefly, an AI program. I said, make a picture of a robot with a human brain. And this is what it gave me. Kind of creepy. I don't know why it's on the outside of his body. Well, he's wearing it like a Daniel Boone hat for some reason, but that was their interpretation. So artificial intelligence is a misnomer, the term artificial intelligence. And I added this because Andy likes to point it out, and it's very true. Real, true artificial intelligence doesn't exist yet. Machines cannot make independent decisions. They make decisions, they learn from what they are taught by humans. Everything that you get in AI, a human said, this is the fact, this is how it works. They also learn from patterns. They make decisions based on the patterns they see. They also learn from feedback that they're given. So if they tell you the wrong answer and you say, no, that was bad, they learn from that. They grow from that. So a more accurate term, there are different terms for it, but really machine intelligence is what we're talking about. Even like advanced automation is a good term to think about. But artificial intelligence is the term that it's the hot term, the buzzwords, AI, right? You see commercials all the time now, like, oh, AI is on this phone, AI is on this app or whatever. Like, well, it's always been there, but now that's the hot term, AI. But what for now, we can safely say that robots aren't taking over the world yet. Now, one day I'll probably have to take that sentence off of this presentation, but we're not there yet. So Humans are still in charge. Okay. That's the important thing to remember. Let's do another poll here. I want to ask you all, have you used artificial intelligence before in any way, shape, or form? Um, AI usage. You can type in the chat too, but I'm going to do a poll here. Again, the poll is anonymous. I guess if you type in the chat, it's not anonymous, but yes, no, or I don't know. I'm unsure. Give you guys just another couple seconds here. All right. So 86% of you said yes, 10% said no, and 4% said unsure. And Gary in the chat said everyone should be saying yes. And he is correct because even if you don't realize it, we've all used AI before. Unless you're Amish, you probably have used AI. And if you are Amish, you're probably not watching this webinar right now. Here's some common examples of artificial intelligence that we use. Social media uses it, right? Algorithms determine what you see based on previous interactions. Sometimes you accidentally click on something and then Facebook thinks you love that thing and it keeps showing it to you. And I'm like, I don't love that. Stop showing it to me. What about Siri? What about Alexa? Those personal digital assistants, they use AI. You interact with those on a regular basis. What about GPS? I couldn't get anywhere without GPS anymore. I'm surprised I can get home from work. Those programs not only use the maps, but they also are smart enough to know, oh, there's a wreck on this highway, so I'm going to reroute you this way. This is the fastest way to get there. That's a form of AI. What about talking to bots? You ever talk to a bot on a website? A lot of bots are not good. And that's not because bots aren't capable. It's because they just haven't been programmed very well. We recently launched a bot on our website. His name's Eddie, and we've been training him to answer questions that to save people time so they don't have to call us or email us if they don't want to. And Eddie's getting pretty smart. So not all bots are equal. Maybe if you want to go check out our site and play with Eddie sometime, you could. Another thing that another way that you see AI a lot is predictive text. Whether you're typing in Word, you're typing email, you're typing on your phone. For some reason, my phone thinks I like the word ducking a lot, and I'm like, that's not what I was going for, actually. But so we've all used AI, even if you didn't realize it. It's very common, and people say, oh, AI is this scary new thing. Well, you're already using it. You just don't realize it. So a big question, the big debate in our world right now is AI good or is it bad? If you want to share what you think in the chat, go ahead. I don't have a poll for this, but do you think AI is good or is AI bad? Give you all a second here to seeing a lot of both. Mostly good, depends on how it's used. Well, guess what? You're all wrong. The answer is AI isn't good or bad. AI is neither. It's morally neutral. It is simply a tool. I compare AI to a hammer because a hammer isn't good or bad, right? What people do with a hammer can be good or bad, right? You can build a birdhouse or you can break somebody's window and steal something in their car. So AI is not bad. People might use it for bad things. AI is not good. People can use it for good things. AI is simply a tool. Humans are still in charge. It's what the humans do with it that matters. So why are we spending so much time on AI here at MSBA? Why is it such an important topic? I'm going to give you a little data here. 46%, at least 46% of students admit to using AI for academic purposes. That doesn't mean they're cheating, that they're using it to write essays, but it means they're doing something with it. Maybe they're using it for research or brainstorming. I think that number's a lot higher, but I think that they're probably scared to admit it because they think they're going to get in trouble for it. 25% of teachers are using AI, and 13% of teachers have had professional development on AI. You're already starting to see a gap there, right? Half of our students are using it. Only half of those, only a fourth of the teachers are using it. and even less than that have been trained on it. The thing I hear the most from teachers is we need guidance, we need training, we need support. We don't know what we're supposed to do, what we're not supposed to do, and they're not getting it for the most part. Let's look at this from the business perspective. 93% of Fortune 500 companies are already using AI, and 52% of people surveyed ages 18 to 34 are worried about how AI will affect their future careers. And they should be, because 80% of the US workforce will have their jobs affected by AI within the next 5 years. That doesn't mean they're going to be replaced by a robot, but it means their job's going to change in some way because of AI. So this is why we care so much about this. This is the future. It's not even the future, it's the right now. This is the world that our students are living in. It's changing education, it's changing everything. So we've got to pay attention to it. I want to let you know about a really interesting website called willrobotstakemyjob.com. It's kind of a funny name, but it's actually a really interesting website. You can go there and you can search for a job, and it will tell you what the odds are of you being replaced by robots. Now, what do you think are some of the most searched jobs on this site? If you would use the chat, just guess here. Again, we're just guessing. What are some of the most searched jobs on willrobotstakemyjob.com? And I will tell you, I'll show you what they are here in just a second. Now, interesting, a lot of you are saying teachers and education and accountant, okay. Medical professionals, journalists. I'm going to show you mechanic. These are the most searched as of yesterday when I took this screenshot. These are the most searched jobs on willrobotstakemyjob.com. Number one is teacher. Now, what's interesting is a lot of you said it, but when I did this presentation in Dallas for 120 people, there was like a gasp in the room when I said teachers are the most searched thing on this. They were like, what? Like, yes, teachers are worried about their jobs being replaced. You'll also see, as a lot of you hit on there, computer programming, accountants, lawyers. Oh, well, Andy's nervous now. Actors is an interesting one, dentists. So this is a really cool website. Now, if you click on teachers, it will tell you that the risk level of you being replaced by a robot is very low, which is good. We need humans. We need humans. There's actually growth projected in this field by 2030. So most teachers probably won't be replaced by robots, which is good, but they're worried about it. They need reassurance from their principals, from their districts, from their superintendents that we're not going to replace you, right? I've been replaced by a machine once when I was younger. I worked in TV production, and it's not fun. So I encourage you to check out that website. So we're going to zoom in and focus on one type of AI, which is called generative AI, because like I said, AI is a huge topic. Generative AI is the one that has been in the news a lot in the last year and a half or so. Generative AI, in very simple terms, are machines that are capable of creating original text, images, video, audio, just about anything you can imagine. The big one is ChatGPT, right? That's the big one. There's lots of others. We're going to talk about a few of them as well. But the difference between generative AI and other types of AI is this is creating original material. It's not pulling it from somewhere on the internet. It's creating it for you. So if I were to go on there and say, write a story about this, this, and this, it would make my story in seconds. If you were to go on there and say the exact same words, write a story about this, this, and this, it would give you a different story. It's original content. So a lot of people get search engines and AI chatbots mixed up. And there are some similarities and they do overlap, but they're not the same thing. Search engines, we're talking Google, Bing, things like that. They find information that already exists on the web. They go out there and find it for you and say, here it is. They give you the link to it. Sometimes now they just pull it off the site. AI chatbots give you a personalized response. They're saying, based on what I know about you, based on what I know about this topic, here's the answer. With search engines, usually you ask it a question or you just type in a couple keywords. Whereas with a chatbot, you have a conversation with it. That's why it's called a chatbot. you have a chat. If you all remember chat rooms back in the day, yeah, you're talking with this robot. And there are downfalls to both of them. Search engines are heavily influenced by advertising. So the top results you see may not be the best results, but they're the ones that paid to be at the top. Whereas AI chatbots, not so much, don't really have advertising yet for most of them, at least the big ones, but they do have biases, whether intentional or not, based on the information that they've been given. They do have biases. So there are similarities to these two things, but they're not the same thing. All right, so let's talk about ChatGPT a little bit more. ChatGPT has only been around for about a year and a half, which is crazy because it feels like it's been longer, but just so much has happened in the tech world since then. It's the most downloaded app of all time, which is crazy. Think about how many people have like the Facebook app. Well, more people have ChatGPT. They have over 100 million active users every week. That means that people are actually using it every week, it's not just sitting on their phones. This is an interesting graph too to show how fast ChatGPT reached 1 million users. It took them 5 days, which just shows you how fast and how big ChatGPT is. I'm kind of flying through some of this, so I want to have time for the other things. So, time for another poll question. What is your experience with ChatGPT? Let me launch that. Either I use it often, I use it occasionally, I've only heard of it, I've never actually used it, or I've never heard of it before. And again, this is anonymous. We're not going to shame you if you've never heard of it before. We did have some people in Dallas who were like, we had a lady who was texting her son because she's like, I don't know what this is. And he tells me he uses it every day. So there's a big gap in the world we're living in right now.
Real quick, Larry Felton would like to know if the participants will have access to these slides.
Yes, I can send them out. I'm going to send out the video. I can make a PDF of the slides and share those as well. Absolutely. All right. So here are the results. 24% say you use it often, 55% occasionally, 20% say you've only heard of it, you've never actually used it. Nobody says that they never even heard of it, which is good. You guys are, at least you're aware of it, which is good. All right, there are some other big AI chatbots that I think at this point you need to be aware of, even if you don't use them. ChatGPT might be the big one that everyone's talking about, but there's some other biggies that you need to know about. One of them is Copilot. This is Microsoft's AI program. You may have seen advertisements for this during the Super Bowl. They're really pushing it. It is available on Bing if you use their search. It is also enhanced by Copilot. One of the cool things about Copilot is it integrates with other Microsoft products. They're slowly rolling this out. I have a trial version on my computer. I don't know what the rollout timeline is, but the cool thing is it works in Microsoft Word. It works in Excel. It works in PowerPoint to help you save time, to help you do things more efficiently, more accurately. Another big one is Gemini. This is Google's AI platform. It used to be called Bard. They kind of replaced Bard with Gemini a few months ago. Gemini integrates with search, so it can search things on Google, or you can use Bard to do more accurate searches. It also integrates with Google Classroom, your Google Docs, your Google Slides, kind of like the Microsoft one integrates with their things as well. Another one to know about is Claude. Claude is created by some of the founders of ChatGPT. There's been a lot of drama with the creators of ChatGPT and splitting off and fighting. And Claude calls itself the ethical chatbot. They are big on protecting your privacy, protecting your rights, security, things like that. One thing I like about Claude is the free version you can upload documents to. You can have it analyze data and things like that. Whereas with the others, you have to use the paid version for that. And another big one is Perplexity, which is funded by Jeff Bezos and some other big names in the tech world. Perplexity is an AI program that focuses on decision making. I'll be honest, I haven't played around with Perplexity yet. I know Andy has, but it's interesting. It's got some different things to it. So the links to all these are going to be on a page on our website that I'll show you about later. So you don't have to write all this down. I want to quickly talk about the difference between OpenAI and closed AI. This is another image that Adobe Firefly created for me. I said, I want a guy standing outside a window listening, and this is what it gave me. So at least he has the right number of fingers, I think. Um, I like to use the metaphor of windows when we're talking about open and closed, right? If you're talking about private information, you probably don't want to do it next to an open window where people can hear you and see you. You want to do it with the window closed, with the blinds shut, maybe. Same thing with AI. So these programs like ChatGPT, Bard, they are open AI, which means if you put in data into them, it now absorbs that data. You can't get it back. It's like toothpaste. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't get the data back out of OpenAI. It's now in their system. It's now in the world. So you have to be careful about what you put in there when it comes to private information. Closed AI, these are internal AI programs that are much more safe to share information. Some districts have their own closed AI. Some businesses have their closed AI. You just want to make sure that you know before you enter anything private that you are on a closed AI. All right. We also want to warn you, this is probably the most important part of this entire webinar because we don't want you to get ripped off because AI is hot right now. There are a lot of people who are trying to make money off of AI and they want to sell you this product. And we've already seen some people fall for this. So we're trying to warn people about it. Districts want answers. They need solutions. There's vendors who say, hey, we got just the solution for you. Some of them are legitimate. I'm not saying bad things about all vendors, but there are some predatory vendors, as we call them, who are just out to get your money. There's a lot of things that you can do for free or for very little money with ChatGPT, with Bard, with all these other programs. So don't pay somebody big bucks to do something that basically you could do for free or very little. Research the product. Be sure that it really is doing something grand that's worth paying for, not just something that you could get for free or for little. Be careful. All right. We are going to play another round of robots versus humans in just a second here. This is an interesting little test that was done by Tool Tester. They gave people some ChatGPT text and asked them who wrote it. And 36% of people said, oh, that was written by a human. 16-ish% said, oh, it was written by AI, but it was edited by a human. And about 50% could tell that it was AI. It's getting harder and harder to tell when something was written by a human versus written by AI, especially because you can tell it, write this like a human, and it'll change it for you. So we're going to play another round of robots versus humans. I need to take a drink of water because I'm not a robot. I get thirsty. All right. So this time we're going to look at writing. So students in fourth grade were given this writing prompt. Describe what lunchtime is like for you on a school day. Be sure to tell about your lunchtime so that someone who has never had lunch with you on a school day can understand where you have lunch and what lunchtime is like. So I'm going to read to you quickly 3 responses. 2 of them were written by real fourth grade living, breathing students. 1 of them was written by ChatGPT. And then we're going to take a poll and see if you can figure out which one was written by ChatGPT. Here is number 1. It's called a fun and exciting time. Lunchtime on a school day is a fun and exciting time for me and my friends. We usually go to the cafeteria, which is a big and noisy room filled with tables and chairs. After getting our lunch from the lunch ladies, we find a spot to sit and enjoy our meal. I like to bring a yummy sandwich and a cold juice box for lunch, and sometimes I'll even pack a tasty piece of fruit or a bag of crunchy chips. As we eat, we chat and laugh and catch up on each other's day. Overall, lunchtime is a great opportunity to take a break from classes and spend time with my friends. I always look forward to it, and I always have a good time. The cafeteria can be a little crowded and noisy, but it's a fun and lively place to be. I'm grateful that I get to enjoy a delicious lunch with my friends every day. This is number 1. Now let's look at essay number 2, called I Usually Eat Cold Lunch. At lunchtime, I usually eat cold lunch. My mother packs me a sandwich, a drink, fruit, and a treat. When I get in the lunchroom, I find an empty table and sit there and eat my lunch. My friends come and sit down with me. I open my lunch and start to eat. First, I eat my sandwich, and then I open my drink. Then I eat my fruit, and last but not least, my treat. After that, I sit quietly until I am dismissed. When I am, I go into the bathroom and clean my teeth because I have braces. When I am done with that, I go outside and put my lunchbox away and go find my friends. We usually play foursquare or play on the playground. If we are not on the playground or on the foursquare ground, we are on the field playing tag, kickball, or soccer. I really like to play soccer, and my friends do too. That is number two. And here's the third one. And then we will vote on which one you think was created by ChatGPT. Number three is called Everybody Talks. Lunchtime in my school is very noisy because everybody talks. The fourth, fifth, and sixth graders at my school have to eat lunch at the same time. We all sit at tables that are set up in the gym across half of the basketball court. We eat lunch every day from 11:45 through 12 p.m. That sounds about right. Lunches are really short in school. At lunch, everyone eats and talks to their friends until the lunch moms dismiss them so they can go to recess. When everybody is cleared out of the lunchroom, the janitors and lunch moms wipe off the tables just on time for the seventh and eighth graders to come into the room for lunch. After lunch and recess, I go back to my fourth grade classroom, which is in the basement. I like lunchtime a lot. It's my favorite time of day. Okay, so those are the three essays. I wish I could put them all up here on the same screen for you at the same time, but we're kind of limited here. So I'm going to launch a poll here. And I want you to vote. Again, it's anonymous. Nobody will know. Which one of these was written by ChatGPT? 1, 2, or 3? And I'll give you a minute while I catch my breath. That's a lot of reading. Takes me back to my English teacher days. Well, I can tell you each of them has, some people have answered. All right. So 80% of you say number 1 was written by ChatGPT. Number 2 has 12%, and number 3 has 7%. I got to tell you, we fooled a lot of people in Dallas, but not too many this time. But each one did have some responses. All right, which one was created by ChatGPT? The answer is number 1, a fun and exciting time. If you want to put in the chat why you thought this was it, or why you didn't think this was it, go ahead and do so. Or if you thought why you thought 2 or 3 was correct. Adjectives, I see. Descriptive words, fourth graders wouldn't use. Adjectives, so many adjectives. Adjectives is the key word. Young kids struggle to add that many. Descriptions, language is not that of a fourth grader. Vague descriptors, advanced level, too much elaborate descriptions. I gotta say, Andy, I'd say probably half the people did not choose number 1 when we did this in Dallas. I don't remember if you know, but I mean, we did it in person. We didn't do a poll like this, but it was a lot more diverse responses.
Yeah, there's a lot more surprise that for people.
Yeah. Good. So you all are onto it. Now I can tell you that, you can tell ChatGPT or whatever to write at a different level. You can tell it to write with some mistakes. You can tell it to write so it won't get caught by a plagiarism checker, things like that. Now, what the research has told us is that the kids who were cheating before AI, before ChatGPT, they're still cheating. But the kids who weren't cheating back then, they aren't cheating now. So it really doesn't seem like it's affected the amount of cheaters. But of course, we got to teach kids about these things. Here's some interesting survey data. Students 13 to 17 years old on what they think is acceptable to use ChatGPT for. 20% said it's acceptable to write an essay. 57% said it's not, but 69% said it's acceptable for research purposes, which, depending on the teacher, I would agree with. Why do they use AI chatbots in school? To generate ideas is the number 1 answer. To edit or complete a portion of a paper, and 9 to 16% said write all of the paper. So they need guidance. They need to be taught, just like you teach kids about plagiarism now for in other ways at school. You need to teach them about correct usage. And again, a lot of teachers don't know what they're supposed to do because they haven't been given the professional development or the guidance to do these things. So a lot of the kids are teaching the teachers about these things. All right, so remember this graphic I showed to you a little bit ago? Well, here it is again. I ask you to brainstorm in the chat what are some opportunities and challenges for these different groups. And if you have more ideas now, feel free. Andy, I'm going to ask you if you could you've been watching the chat, if you could kind of summarize some of the things that you've seen.
Sure. The number one thing was the possibility for individualized instruction. I think people were optimistic about that. That's certainly something that we hear a lot. And second after that, I would say, is the concerns about cheating and depriving kids of the opportunity to learn certain things about writing that they might replace with GPT. There were also I think there were multiple comments about how it saves time. You don't have to recreate the wheel, and it could help with teacher retention in that it helps save time. That's at least part of it. There was one comment that had to do with control for all groups. I was kind of curious what exactly that meant. And I can't remember who made that comment, but if they remember making it and want to expand on that, I'd be curious to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone pointed out that they said you spelled the word wipe wrong on that sample essay. It's because the fourth grader spelled it wrong. I didn't. I just took a screenshot. I didn't spell it wrong. I know how to spell wipe for the record. um, absolutely. So keep putting things in the chat, whether it's opportunities, whether it's challenges. I'm going to go through some things that we've heard of, that we've done for these different areas, starting with schools as a whole. Some opportunities for that include automated decision making, saving time on those decisions that maybe, simple things that take physical time, take brain power that you can automate. Also, preventative safety measures. Bob will talk about safety in a couple weeks, but there are things that you can use for AI tools to detect possible safety threats, things like that. Challenges for schools. Data privacy is a big one when you're working with AI. How do we protect the data of our students? How do we not violate, laws, things like that? Also, equity and access. How do we ensure that all kids have the same access to these products, not products, but these tools as others? Looking at my computer's not, there we go. All right, let's look at students. Some great opportunities, as Andy said, customized learning is such a big one, especially for kids who might have IEPs, who have special challenges. Imagine that you have 30 kids in your class, and each one of them can have customized learning to meet their needs and also meet their interests. Like, I think about, as a former high school English teacher, wouldn't it have been great if I could have every kid read about things that they thought were interesting instead of just trying to be like, well, here's what we're going to read, guys. Everybody having something related to what they find interesting. Access to resources, opening up the world to them in ways that, the internet already does. Challenges, of course, plagiarism and cheating they're already a challenge, and this isn't going to help. Also, unethical usage. Again, we have to teach these kids the right and the wrong. And I want to give a shout out to Pattonville here in Missouri. Found a cool article last week that some students in Pattonville won $10,000 in a contest for creating a new AI model that's specifically for their school. And the AI model is that I forget what they call it. I wish I'd written that down. But Google this if you want to know about it. They create this program where students can put in their goals and their previous classes, and it will sort of create a recommended schedule for them, like based on what you like, based on what you're interested in doing. Here's the classes that we think you should take next year. Obviously, we have counselors for that sort of thing, but there's a lot more students than counselors. So it's a really cool program that they created specifically for their school. And that would be a closed AI program, so you wouldn't have to worry about the data. What about teachers? Enhancing teaching tools, saving time. Wouldn't you love teachers to have your own teacher's assistant all the time? But we can't afford them. We can't even find enough teachers as it is in a lot of states. I know in Missouri we have that problem. But it saves so much time. I am jealous of all the tools available to teachers these days. Challenges, as I've said, lack of training, lack of guidance and support. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing in a lot of cases. They're getting mixed messages. Also, obviously, they're very busy, so they need someone to step in and help them. I want to let you know about a website called Magic School. That's very cool. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying you should check it out. Magic School does a lot of the same things that other AI programs do, like ChatGPT, but it's all very simple to use. You don't have to worry about communicating with it. Oh, Pattonville's is called Anchor. Thank you, Terrence. It's very, yes, it's very cool if you look up Pattonville and Anchor AI. Um, Magic School has like 18 free tools, and they have a bunch more if you pay for it. But you can help unpack state standards. You can write IEPs. You can create songs based on popular pop songs that teach kids about a different topic. You can create writing passages, just all sorts of really interesting stuff. You can really go down a rabbit hole playing on Magic School. But I've heard from a lot of teachers that it's a game changer for them. And again, the free version is pretty good. Administrators and district staff, opportunities to streamline operations as well as enhance communication. Again, how can we make ourselves better? How can we make ourselves more efficient? Obviously, there's time and there's cost to implement these programs. And as we talked about with change management, there's going to be people who are resistant to it. So you're going to have to approach it from the right direction. Board of Education, which is what we really focus on here at MSBA, there are opportunities for the board when it comes to things like strategic planning and stakeholder engagement. You can use AI tools to really help you with those things. And we're doing a lot of research on that now. We're going to be presenting at our conference in June about how boards can really engage their communities using AI tools. Challenges are policy and regulatory frameworks. The board has to decide on the policies around these things. Andy will talk a lot more about that next week. Also, transparency and accountability. If you're using AI, you really should be transparent and tell people that you're using AI. As I mentioned earlier, one of the cool things about Claude, the free version of Claude, is you can upload data, you can upload documents. So what I did was I removed all your names and all your email addresses. I did not put those in Claude. Don't freak out. But I did include your where you're from, your job titles, your experience, your thoughts on AI. And I just uploaded the document. I said, analyze this. And in seconds, Claude gave me all these interesting bullet points about who my audience is for this, what their thoughts are, what their background is. It would have taken me a lot more time and thoughts to do that. So if you do a survey, a climate and culture survey, you do a parent survey, you could analyze that data in seconds and really have some great takeaways from it using AI tools. Parents in the community. I am also a parent of two teenagers, which is why I don't have hair anymore. But there's a lot of great things that parents can do as well. One of them is personalized learning support, which I will talk more about in just a second from my own experience. Also, accessible education. Again, coming back to IEPs, helping those kids with their specific needs. Challenges with parents, digital divide. Maybe we don't. In Missouri, we have a big digital divide from, people who have high-speed internet in big cities like Kansas City, St. Louis. But we have a lot of people who live in the Ozarks, in the middle of nowhere, where they have dial-up internet, and that's all they can do. Also, education and awareness. We have to train our parents and our community about AI, just like we have to train our teachers and our students. Now, I will tell you that Gemini has been a lifesaver for me as a parent because my daughter is in 9th grade. She's taking advanced geometry, which I never took advanced geometry before. And she comes home and she's like, I got to study for this test tomorrow. Of course, she waits till the last minute because she's a teenager. And I need help understanding these sample problems. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I've never done this before in my life. I try to Google it and that helps a little bit. But with Gemini, I can take a picture with my phone of the problems on her practice test, upload to Gemini, say, solve this, and it will give me step by step. Here's how she already knows what the answer is. It's just a practice. We're not cheating, but it's helping her understand the process. So we're able to do this. And then she's like, oh yeah, I remember the teacher talking about this and this. and it's been a lifesaver for us. So I can tell you, Gemini's helped me a lot, and my daughter. All right. Andy, before we go on, are there any other things that people have put in the chat about these groups and possible ways they can use AI or challenges?
Oh, well, earlier when I asked about the comment about control with different groups, Lisa Elrod followed up on that to say that control over AI will look different for each group and how to achieve this so that everyone is happy and feels that they are using AI in a safe and beneficial way. That's a huge challenge. So kind of the equity part of it, access. So kind of asking the question, which is a very important question, is who gets to be in charge over how we use this? And who gets to have access.
Yeah, very good points, Lisa. Thank you for clarifying on that. And I think Andy, you'll talk about some of that next week too, right? With talking about putting someone in charge and who makes the decisions in a district, recommendations that we have on things like that, right? Or if not, I
Yes.
just made more work for you.
No,
I'm,
no, we got that ready to go.
I'm making promises. All right. You all have homework for next week. You're like, oh no, what are we doing here? We have homework. It's fun homework though. I am challenging you in the next week before we meet again to try something new with AI. If you've never used ChatGPT before, try it out. If you've never used Bard, if you've never used one of those tools, try it out. Or maybe you want to try out Magic School and see some of the cool things that are available on there. We have a page on our website. Our website's mosba.org. If you just search for AI resources on there, it's also on the menu. We have a page of resources. We know it's overwhelming, and we've tried to really provide resources and context for what they are, what they do, how they work. So we're going to start next Tuesday by saying, hey, what did you guys do for your homework? What did you try out? What did you explore? Might be some new things that we've never even done before. There's so many different tools out there. So we hope that you will do your homework and be good students and do that. All right. I want to let you know that next Tuesday, we will be back here. Andy will be leading us on legal and policy. The week after that, we will be talking about safety and security. There's a lot there. We're going to like build you up, get you excited about AI, and then Bob's going to scare the heck out of you. That's the plan. He's good at that. We really appreciate your feedback on this, questions, comments, things like that. My email address is right there on the screen.